Hello, my name is Anthony Hall and this is a basic introduction on how to do a basic UV in three different ways of a basic box. So I'm going to start by clicking on the box tool, pressing N on my keyboard to bring up the numerical. I've just got a basic six-sided box which is 1 meter square, so I'm going to stick with that. Press the space bar to drop the selection. And then what I want to do is make a UV which is going to unwrap the box flat, so then I can put whatever textures I want onto them. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to go to my top view, change it to UV. So this is where each side of my box is going to be unwrapped. And then I'm going to now show you three different ways to unwrap it. There's probably more than three, a lot more than three, but these are just three ways that I use for this basic box. So at the top where it says UV tab, we'll click on it. So when the UV options comes up, you've got all the different UV options. I'm just going to click on make UV and it brings up the UV options. So I'm going to call it at the top, give it a name, we'll just call it box 1. And for the first unwrap, we're going to use a basic option called Atlas. So Atlas automatically unwraps the box based on the size you've got. Now, I only really use this on boxes of very, very simple objects because it does have a mind of its own. If we click the live update at the bottom, it will show you how it's unwrapped it. So that's all you need to do for the first one, all I do anyway. Give it a name, make sure it's Atlas map, and just have a look at it in the live update. Click create, shut it down. When it does that, what it does is, we're on the side part here, it says vertex maps. If I've just bring it up here, look, it adds the actual UV here to the actual texture part of the vertex panel, and that is where you can actually rename it by right mouse clicking, copy it or delete it or whatever. So what I've got now is this box unwrapped. So if I just switch to my polygon tool here and click, you can see which part is which. Now if like this, I've got like there's a top and there's a bottom, side, front, back, you might want to rearrange these by sizing them all down together and moving them into position. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it like this, and then I'm going to export it into Photoshop, and then in Photoshop add some textures to them, and then keep jumping between Photoshop and Lightwave to see the update between them. So to do this, I'm going to go to the IO tab, go across where it says export and go down to EPX export. First thing I'm going to do is I don't want to take the grid, and I don't want all of the above because it will take all the panels. All I want is the UV panel, and then it's going to say where do you want to save it. So I'm going to export it, and I'm going to put it in my UV folder into images, and I'm just going to call it box 1 because this is where the three textures I've collected that I'm going to use is. So I'm going to save my EPS into there, press OK. Then I'm going to open up Photoshop, which I already have done. I'm going to open the actual EPS I've just created, box 1. When the rasterized EPS format comes up, it's really important that the resolution is 300 pixels. We can leave that if you want. But it says here mode CYMK. That's for printing purposes, so you need to change that to RGB. For the size, pixels 50, we can double that if you want, that's fine. So I'm going to leave everything the same, but it's really important you change the mode to sRGB. We press OK and it brings this in, look. So here's your actual, each one of your panels or your polygons ready to put your textures inside of. So let me open the first image I'm going to use. So I've got this, I've just found this off the internet, and what I want to do is I want to use each side of one of this grate to put on the sides of each side of my polygons. So I'm just going to use Photoshop the rectangle marquee tool. I'm just going to highlight up to the part I need, and then I'm going to copy and paste it into here. So first thing I'm going to do, now the resolutions of the two documents aren't the same. This is 300 and this one's I think like 72, so you're going to come in smaller, but it's fine. If you're making your own textures, you'll need to kind of make sure they're similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just holding down shift in the new Photoshop, and I'm just going to bring them to the corners here. Let me just go and turn off snap, and then I'll just zoom in a little bit so I can see. So what I'm doing is I'm just bringing this so it's slightly, very slightly overlapping the actual original box. So I'm going to switch these around so I can see that it's overlapping and going to the way towards the edge of where I want it to go, like so. And again, we can come back and we can adjust this as well. So let's do the next one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring 5 more of these panels and place it in each one of these boxes, and that's what you've got to do. So I'm going to quickly run through this bit at higher speed so you can, because you already know what I'm going to do, and get ready to take it into Photoshop. Okay, so I've dragged and dropped each one of different size, very random. I haven't really looked at which is top, back and sides, and I've placed them inside each one of the polygon faces. So I'm going to turn off layer 1, which is the actual outline of the EPS I originally brought in, and then I'm going to go save as, make sure it's in my image folder. I'm going to make it a JPEG. I'm going to leave it as UV1, and I'll just put UV at the end. Save it, make sure it's maximum, and then let's move this out of the way. We'll jump into Lightwave, go to the surface editor. Now currently I haven't given this a surface name, so that's something we can do. So I'll go down to set surface, we'll call it box 1 UV, so I've got the same names, and give it a random colour if you want, it's up to you. But then I'm going to double click the actual box 1 and bring up the node editor so we can plug in the image. So at the top, add node 2D image. I'm going to plug colour to colour, double click it, and then I'm going to load in the first texture, which is the UV one, box 1, like so. I'm going to go down, and for the mapping I'm going to say I want it to UVs, and the UV map I want to use is the only one I've got, so it UV maps it round. And so then what you've got is it unwrapped. Now as I'm looking at it, like I said, I'm not particularly bothered which size which you can change these around in Photoshop and just update it, but I've noticed that this one here is facing the wrong way. So if you get that on your map and it's facing the wrong way, click on it, go to the UV map, and then down the side here you've got different flip options. So there's flip like left to right and flip like up and down. So you've just got to play with these two options, this UV, flip UV and VUV selection, and then you can have a look through the others and see if there's any others that you want to do. And if you wanted to say just have the writing on the top and the bottom, what you would do is identify, so you know that's the top and that one is the bottom. So in Photoshop, this one here you could switch, so by simply duplicating, like say this one, let's turn it back on the outline so I can see it. So I could say, okay, I want that one there, and then maybe, I don't know, let's switch these two round quickly like so, turn the top off, and this time we just go File, Save As, make sure it's Photoshop, click on the last one you selected, which is box 1 minus UV, press save, make sure it says do you want to replace it, because you do, and then when you actually click into Lightwave, it will just update it for you, so you don't have to redo it, and then you can check it. And again, this one is the wrong way around, so we just need to flip it the right way. If I can just get it, that's it. And there you have the first box, and like I said, you can go and edit it as you wish. So that's how to do the first basic unwrapping of a basic box. So next one, so let's go on to a new layer at the top. I'll just double click this layer and call it box 1. new layer, create box, exactly the same, using the same settings, dropping the selections. So this time what we're going to do is we are going to unwrap each side separately, so we've got more control on it without using the atlas. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to unweld the point so they're not connected. The reason being is I want them to not interfere with each other when I lay them out, because they do if on some objects if you don't do this way. Okay, so once I've unwelded it, I'm going to select the top and the bottom, go to UV, make UV. I'm going to give it a new name of box 2. This time we're using the planar and it's going through the Y, which is up and down. Click live update and you've got one box. It's literally both of the actual polygons, but they're on top of each other. So the simple thing to do that is deselect one, use the move tool and move one to the side like so. So you know these two here look at your top and the bottom. So let's move them up out of the way. Next let's do the sides. So if I choose this one and you can see, look, the dark line, it's running through the X. So go to UV, make UV. I'm not giving it a new name because I want it to be part of this one. I'm going to change it to the X, live update, and again you get them on top of each other. So if I deselect one, move it to the side, you've got both your side polygons there, so you know they're your side ones. And then lastly, running through the Z is your front and back. Lightwave usually uses the plus Z as the front axis, if you're wondering. So this is a car, and Lightwave needs to know which is the front and back. The plus Z is your front. So again, make UV, box 2. This time it's going through the Z. Just deselect one, move it to the side, and then what I've got is the side bit. So you must then put them all inside of this actual UV window. So I'm just going to right mouse click and lasso select them all. Go to modify size them all down and move them into the actual box window. And then when you're in here, it's up to you if you want to rearrange them in any way. So I think all I'm going to do is just put them underneath each other like so. Not even, I mean, I'd take a bit more care if I was doing it, but that'll do. I've got the actual them unwrapped. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to detail and click merge points and press OK. So now what it's done is merged them back together. So this is all one polygon again. Oops. So next all I've got to do is go to the IO tab, export EPS, and we're going to do the same thing. We just want the UV, we want that. We don't want a grid. We're just going to export it into here. We'll call it box 2. So we're going to have 2 EPSs in there. Okay. Bring up Photoshop. You can save this last settings if you want. I'm not going to do that. Let me open up the EPS2. Same settings it's remembered, which is good. And then I just need to put whatever textures I want to put in here now. So for this, what I could do is open up. Let's go and get, let's say, I've got an IKEA box here that I could maybe use. Like so. Yeah, I could use this. I mean, it's a rectangle, but I can live with that. We're only using it for this purposes. So I'm going to select this side, copy it, paste it, and then what I'm going to do is, because I know these are let me use this one because I think these are the sides. I'm not going to use the top, and then I'm going to free transform them into and out of proportion, but into this window like so. And then, like before, I'm going to repeat this and drag and drop each one of these into their own polygon panel. Now, what I will do is, because I don't want tape on either side, is I might just use what will I use? Maybe, yeah, the clone stamp to just stamp out the actual sellotape on each side of these. And if you haven't used this, in Photoshop, the actual clone stamp, you literally just hold Alt a target will come up. You click on the area of influence and then you literally rub it out. So let me just, oh sorry, just let me just deselect that. So area of influence, and then you can keep clicking the area of influence and rub it out so you've got no tape on each one of these. So I'll do that quickly as well, and then I'll come back when everything's in its own panel. Okay, so I've placed all the textures in each of the panels. What I'm going to do is just turn off layer 1 and then go File, Save As. We'll save it as UV box UV JPEG. Save. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Go back here and let's give it a surface name. So we'll set surface and we'll just call it UV2. Okay, like so. Then we'll bring up Surface Editor. We've got our new UV2. We'll double click it and follow the same procedure where we're going to add a 2D texture, image, colour to colour, double click, and let's load up the UV2. And then, like before, mapping is UV map, and the mapping is map 2 this time. So what we've got is this. Now, looking through, we can see this one is the wrong way, and also it don't fit the proportions because it's the box itself, but we can sort that. So I'm just going to click on the actual polygon and flip the UV so it's kind of going the right way, like so, and the rest generally look alright. So that's box 2, but using obviously a texture that's not quite made for this. I mean, if the proportions, if it's really bothering you, just use the stretch tool. You can always stretch it up, make it thinner, and then it's more of a rectangle. And the box could be like that if you want, but that's up to you. So give that a name on the layer, box 2, and then let's do the last one. Next layer, box, numerical, leaving it the same. So the next one we're going to use under the UV is the ABF unwrap. So with this, you've got to kind of work out, imagine this box and you were putting a zip on the box and you had to unzip the box, so when it unzipped it would make one big flat piece. So what you've got to do is work out whatever object you use in the ABF unwrap is how to put the zips on as such. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip to the edges mode here, and I had to play around with the different options of using the unwrap, and what I've found is that if you do a C like so on each side and then one joint at the top, so you've got a C there, and a joint on top. So imagine this is going to be all unzipped. Then click the ABF unwrap, and what it does based on the seams is unwrap it. So that's all kind of one now. So what I mean by that is it goes in kind of it goes in sequence. So if I just, so imagine the box is being unwrapped, so it's unwrapped there, and there's the side bits, look here, being unwrapped. So again, another really easy way to do it with the ABF unwrap. What I'm going to do is I'll just rotate it, just size it actually a bit so it's just inside like so, and then just adjust the rotation so it's more better like that, and then what I can do now is take this through like before. So IO, export into the same folder, number 3, save it, go back into Photoshop, don't want any of these, let's open up number 3, same settings, and then just get the next texture again, like I've just collected these all off the internet. And so this time I've collected this kind of purposely because it's similar. What you could do is select each, it depends on where you want them in here. What I did is like before, I selected each part and dragged and dropped them across. You could copy the whole thing and paste it in, and as you can see, it jumps straight into the actual right shape actually. So let's just put this on top. Well, kind of, not far off, but it's not brilliant, so you've got to play about with it. Also, it's got a white background on, so you would kind of maybe select each bit like so, copy it and paste it in, and then place it into the box that you want, free transform it. I'm holding shift so I can just pull each side. What I try to do is always try to go over the line, maybe a millimetre or so. Make sure snap's not on. So you're kind of just going over it, so you're not going to get the black line. Pull it to the top, and then repeat the process with the others, which I will do now. Okay, so I've put all the panels in. I'm just going to turn off frame layer 1 and then just save it like before. JPEG and UV at the end. Save. So this is my final one. So if I go through, let's give this a name, and just following the same process as before, basically. Image. So add node, image, node, image to color, double click it, and then you're just going to load up number 3. Like so. And just make sure that obviously using UV map and UV map, well actually UV map is UV map unwrap, because when you do the actual ABF unwrap, it gives you that name. So if you right mouse click on it and rename, you can call it box 3-UV if you want. So it's named, and what you've got is the other dice. So if we have a look at our layers, let's get rid of that UV top now. What we can do is put in the boxes at the side of each other. Rename this box 2 for the layers. Really important that you name your layers. I mean, I'm just calling them box 1, 2 and 3, but you can call them whatever you want. And then, so we end up with our 3 basic cubes, which have been UV'd in 3 different ways. So hopefully going through these 3 different processes will give you the basic introduction of how to do basic UV and understanding what a UV unwrap is on a basic object. So thanks for listening, and see you next time.